Welcome to episode 10 of Hospo Happy Hour, brought to you by Hospo for Life and Warner's Distillery. To wrap up the final episode of the week, we'll be discussing responding and adapting to change and uncertainty with Anya for the first round today, followed by Executive Chef John McFadden from the Alaseel Group for last drinks. Let's get Friday started. Up for the first round today, we have Anya Stevens from People Sense by Altius Group. Welcome, Anya. How are you today?
I'm very, very good, Liam. How are you?
Yeah, really good. So tell us more about responding and adapting to change and uncertainty.
Yeah, well, it's a really good area to focus on at the moment because, all of us are living through this really strange period of uncertainty. No one has been untouched by this situation. And it's a bit of a challenge for all of us because most humans, I think you'd probably agree, Liam, most of us like some level of predictability.
Yes.
We like to know, even if it's just what our roster is going to be, you know, whether we're working this week, what our income is. You don't want to get up in the morning and just find out on the day what's happening. I remember I used to do that as a casual silver service waitress. You had to get up and work for an agency and they would tell you on the day if you had work or not. And it really messed with your head because you just didn't know what to prepare for. And that's where many of us are at the moment, is we're not really sure what we're preparing for. And so predictability as humans, it makes us feel safe. And so this level of uncertainty at the moment is a bit of a challenge for many of us. But it's about learning to live with change. And that's a technique that would hold all of us in good stead, not just now, but into the future.
Yeah.
And dealing with that, there are lots of models around that I could show you. I could baffle you with all kinds of psychobabble about the changes and the levels that we're going through. But I really like the quote that I've got on a slide for you here by Robin Sharma.
Let's have a look at that.
Which is really just simple.
Here we go.
Yeah. So this is what it's really like. Change is hard at first, it's messy in the middle, and then it's gorgeous at the end. And for most of us, we've gone through the hardest part, the shock. When COVID-19 hit, I don't know if you were the same, Liam, but many of us sort of were in denial. I know I was, like, why are we making such a big fuss about a cold?
Yeah.
Then when the reality really hit that this is serious, it was a big shock. Like, how on earth are we going to cope with this? And what do you mean we've all got to stay at home for how long? That was difficult. Often there may have been a bit of a honeymoon period in there as well, though, that it was kind of new and different, but kind of fun for a bit there. We're all having to learn a new way of being and maybe spending more time with family and Zooming meetings and, and then we get to this messy bit, which is, okay, we're done with that now. We've had enough. Can we just go back to normal? The fun's over. But we're still in this messy bit and we haven't got to the gorgeous end yet.
Yeah.
Hopefully we will, and we will all look back on this period as a time, we tell our grandchildren, we lived through the pandemic of 2020. And it will be a kind of a fun thing to talk about. I'm sure it will, but we're not there yet. So this is the hard part, is this period of we're over the shock, but we're still not certain what's going to happen and when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So if we just bear that in mind, that we will get to the gorgeous end and we're just in this sort of messy bit, it might help us a little bit.
Definitely.
So, and why is that hard? Why is change so hard for us? Moving on to this next bit. Well, change and uncertainty often bring about stress and anxiety. And I know all week, and even last week, we've been talking about depression, stress and anxiety because it has become so prevalent in the whole of Australia and around the world, but more so at the moment. We're all worrying about our future, our families, and the situation that we're finding ourselves in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what that can do is it manifests by, and I've seen this in myself, I'm sure you've seen it in yourself as well, Liam, that your frustration increases. It's what you may have been tolerant of few months back, suddenly you're a bit more snappy than you used to be. You get frustrated, easy to anger. Your children are driving you crazy because they're around, your partner's around, and you're not getting the break that you used to by going to work or going out or seeing your friends.
That's right.
You perhaps are more intolerant of interruptions. So at the moment, you know, I'm running a webinar, you are, and I'm conscious that I don't want my children interrupting me. This is important stuff I've got to say, you know. And, you know, I'm perhaps not as easygoing as I might have been before. And a lot of people can be feeling very overwhelmed at the moment if you allow this to get out of control, because anxiety and worry causes a bit of a chain reaction. The more you worry, the more you worry. The more you focus on worry, the more worry grows, and it can snowball and get out of control.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is about feeling unsafe. I don't know where this is going, and so I feel unsafe. And for many of us, the tendency is to then focus on the negatives and focus on the concerns about, like, if I focus on all bad things, maybe they'll go away.
Yeah.
But what you know is the more you focus on problems and the bad things, often the bigger they get.
It doesn't get easier.
It doesn't. And for some at the moment, they're even experiencing a form of grief, because change often brings about feelings of grief. It's kind of odd, but it does. Yeah. And it's not because anybody has necessarily died. For some, there may be, and that is natural, the grieving process. But for many, we're grieving just the loss of the life that we had, and the loss of the predictability that we thought we had.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Probably a bit of the control that we had as well.
That's right, absolutely. So I've lost control and I don't feel comfortable with this because I'm feeling really, that's what made me feel safe. And now, like with grief, there is a process that we work through with it, which starts with shock. Well, that's what I talked about earlier. Yeah. Then you go through all these messy emotions until you get to acceptance at the end. And that's what we need to get to right now, is to that level of just accepting where we are.
Yeah.
And so
as it says here, you can control, you can control, but there's some things you can't. And instead of focusing on what you can't control, just look at what you can.
Absolutely right. And it's the message is getting through, Liam. And you've probably heard it several times over the last few days, but I don't think we can say it enough.
No.
It really is focus on what you can control and don't waste your energy on the things you can't. It's a really odd thing that humans do, is that we waste huge amounts of our energy and resources talking about things, worrying about things, and focusing on things that we have absolutely no control over.
Definitely do.
I've got another slide on from this one as well, which puts that into a bit of a model for you. And so in that middle circle there are the things that you can influence, and the things that you can control. But around that, we've got this other circle of things that concern us, that worry us, that bother us and frustrate us.
Yeah.
And those are the things that I wonder how many hours this week you have spent thinking about things like COVID-19. Where is there going to be a solution to this? How long is it going to go on for? Is there going to be a vaccine? How many hours have we spent worrying about that? And really, we have no control over the outcome. No? The restrictions, are they going to ease? Is it going to be next month? Is it going to be the month after? Is it July? Is it December?
When is many hours thinking about it?
I know, especially in hospitality, because really we're getting some good indication, but we still don't know when really we're going to be open for business again. Yeah. But there's things we can do. You can either resist where we're at, and it's a bit like battling upstream in a boat. You know, jump in your boat and make a decision. The current is going to take you downstream regardless, because that's what currents do. So you can battle it by trying to paddle upstream, by being concerned about things you can't control, or you can turn the boat around and go, you know what, I'm not going to worry about the things I can't control. I'm only going to focus on the things I can influence. And that then takes you downstream and just go with the flow, basically.
Yeah.
And the things you can influence are things like what you're thinking about. So don't think about things that worry you. Think about good things. Think about things you enjoy. What you read, you know, you can look through the newspapers and look through your social media and find every article. I have a habit of doing this, looking on the ABC and finding every negative article I can about where we're going and what international data is telling us. but all it does is make me feel more scared at the end.
Yeah.
What I eat, when you go to bed, and what attitude you're going to choose today. And all those things are a choice. So think about them as a choice and treat them in that way.
Yeah.
And so if we want to move on to then what can we really do? What we need to do is put some control back into our lives. So if we move on to the next slide. These are the things that really will help us maintain this period of uncertainty. Now, I don't know if you have done the same as many, Liam. I've just put my boundaries back in place. Yeah. But, you know, without work and without structure, you can find yourself beginning to go to bed a little bit later than you normally do, you know, watch that extra movie, which means you get up a little bit later than you may have had an extra drink last night than you normally would, or even had a drink through the week when you normally wouldn't because you got to get up and go to work. Yeah. Those sorts of things can creep in and affect your normal operating kind of model.
I've made changes.
Sorry?
I've made changes this week, and
yeah.
I'm going to get myself 8 hours sleep a night, and you know, making sure I'm in bed ready to sleep by 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
It makes my day so much better.
And it might be because we are getting some positive messages at the moment, certainly in Australia, that, you know, there is light at the end of the tunnel, that this is the good time to do it. Like, you've had a bit of a honeymoon period, it's been a bit of a break, now let's start preparing yourself to get back to normal. Yeah. So set up your routines. We are good with routines. Put firm boundaries around it. Go to bed, as you said, at the same time you normally would when you were working, and get up at the same time that you would normally work. It's good for the brain. You sleep better. Exercise and good diet is the foundation of resilience. So make sure that what you're eating is nutritious, good for you. And, you know, you only really need 3 meals a day. Yeah. So stay away from the fridge in between. You know, boredom often leads to overeating. Yeah, you're laughing. We've all done it over the last few weeks, haven't we? Don't know what to do. I know, I'll go and look in the fridge. But you know, we need to balance that with good exercise. And because we've been inside far more, we need to get out and do a little bit of walking around and making sure that we're just moving more than we perhaps have been for a few weeks.
Definitely.
I spoke last week as well about happiness and pleasure, and it's really important in everyday life to find some pleasure in every day. Now, for some of us, that's difficult, because if your pleasure is running a really busy bar and you really love that, it gives you a high, and at the moment it's really not. It's hard, but I was speaking last week about finding pleasure in really simple activities. And that's what we need to be focusing on now, is really choosing what to find pleasurable. And we are lucky, the weather's still good, we can still get out to do little things that find pleasure. Find things you like to read, find little games to play with, and remind yourself that this is fun, instead of I'm missing all the things that I like to normally do. And then I spoke earlier about you've got control over what you think. You need to check your thinking. It's a really good habit to get into. Notice whether you are focusing on negative things and setting yourself up to feel worried, upset, miserable, and concerned, or whether you are setting yourself up for positivity.
Yeah.
And that means things like focusing on things that are certain to us, which is this is not going to be permanent. It will not be permanent. We know that, because nothing is permanent. So just go with the flow. Tell yourself things. I'm coping. It's okay. I can actually cope with this. It's fine. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I'm all right. Just those sorts of general messages make you feel better. Or even this is a chance for self-discovery. And I know some people are actually really benefiting from it by allowing themselves the space to focus on themselves in a positive way. And the other thing then is to begin each day, I think, expecting good things to happen, because it can become a bit of a habit that you get out of bed in the morning and kind of go, I've got to get up. What am I going to do today? And you know, you start the day moaning,
Yeah.
And if you start the day moaning, you will continue the day moaning.
You're going to have a bad day.
You'll have a bad day. You will. We're not certain about where things are going, but you can be certain about the way you feel about it.
Yeah.
So get up each day, spend at least the first 20 seconds just appreciating your life, even if it's just, I appreciate that I'm in a comfortable bed. I appreciate that, oh, it feels a bit colder. I appreciate the change in season.
Yeah.
And that today is going to be a good day. And then the trick is to start watching for the good things that happen and noticing them. And the more, you know, I said earlier, if you focus on worry, it will snowball. The more you focus on it, the more you seem to see it, the more it seems to happen, and it snowballs.
Absolutely. It just happens step by step.
Yeah, and it feels like, oh my gosh, the more I feel like I need to focus on it more because it's getting worse. Yeah. When actually the focusing on it is what making it worse. It can happen the other way. If you focus on really good things, notice the good things that are happening in every day, you get a snowball effect, but in a positive way.
That's right.
Okay. And so watch for it. And when they happen, appreciate it. Even if they're tiny little good things that happen, appreciate it. And they will start to manifest in much larger numbers.
Everything we do. Yeah.
Everything we do. So, that's it really in summary. We're in the messy bit. It's a little bit uncertain, although getting more certain. And get in your boat and allow yourself to drift with the current rather than trying to fight against it, and you'll be in good stead.
Yeah, that's some really good advice. And that I like the analogy of the boat, and that you do just have to go with it at the moment. And, you know, if there are things that we can, you know, do along the way, well, you know, do them, but otherwise,
yeah,
you know, and that don't fight it and come out the other end a lot happier than where you started. Yeah,
absolutely right.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on the show today, Anya. That's all we have time for the first round. Anya will be back to join us for your shout, where you at home can have your say. We'll see you all soon. So for our last Your Shout of the Week, where you can send us your questions either by email to info@hospoforlife.com.au or send us a direct message for our professionals to answer. Our first question today comes from a viewer in Victoria. After watching yesterday's episode, I realised I need help, but I'm still afraid to ask. How can I overcome this fear and get the help that I need?
Well, you know, you won't be alone in that at all. Sometimes, though, it is just too hard to work it out yourself. You know, we've had 2 weeks of webinars and great advice, but, you know, sometimes if you're in a bad place, you just cannot do it by yourself.
No.
And a lot of that is about the fear, is the messages that you're giving yourself. You know, people think that if I'm feeling this way, I must be weak and I must be crazy, and all these things about yourself that are just setting yourself up to fail. Yeah. When really, if you just had a physical problem, if you have a headache or physical symptoms, you go to the doctor and get treatment. Well, it's exactly the same for psychological problems. You're not feeling good, go and get some treatment. If you go and seek treatment, you will not be judged. We won't think you're crazy. We won't think you're weak. What we will do is listen, and we will help you find solutions to your situation. And there are solutions. Okay, I can say that pretty much hand on heart, that we will help you find some solutions. Now, there are lots of supports out there. I hope that you've worked out over the last couple of weeks that psychologists are not all weird people, that most of us are quite normal and quite approachable. And it's actually quite easy to come. Once you start talking, it's actually quite easy for those conversations to start.
Yeah. And we can certainly, at Hospo for Life, we can certainly provide those sessions for you if you need them at home. You can contact us very confidential, and we can put you onto an assistance program where you are looked after with psychological consults that you need, and we can fund that ourselves.
That's right. And at the moment, that can be provided face-to-face in some places because we're seen as an essential service. But we've also got the telehealth set up, so there is the option for people to seek help, even if they're in isolation.
Yeah.
And of course, if anybody is in real crisis, do not sit back and think you have to deal with it alone. Lifeline is there, Beyond Blue is there, and you've got the employee assistance through Hospo for Life as well. There are people out there. Please seek help.
And you can contact us either by email, info@hospoforlife.com.au, or you can send us an email through our website at www.hospoforlife.com.au. We're here to help. We're here to help the whole industry if you need it. Thanks for today, Anya. It's been great to have you back for your chat, and it's been great to have you on the show. We hope you have a great weekend, and take care.
Take care. Nice to see you guys.
Thanks, Anya. Up for the last drink of the week, we have a very special guest, John McFadden, Executive Chef of the Alaseel Group. John, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Sam. Good to be here.
Fantastic. So we met years ago. We've not only worked together, but you've been a fantastic mentor and friend of mine. You've had some big roles over the years. Tell us what you're up to at the moment. And I know you started your new role just as the restrictions came into play. So how it's affected you moving into your new position?
Yeah, absolutely. It was quite daunting to think that I started on the day that all the restaurants actually closed. And when I arrived on my first day, I actually thought I'd probably be in and out in 30 minutes, to be honest. It was quite shattering for the industry to know that a lot of people were either stood down or put off. But I took a role with the Alaseel Group. The thing that excited me the most primarily was their diversity in the food market. Apart from the 5 restaurants that trade 7 days a week, they offer home delivery and takeaway. There's other strings to that bow, and we have a brand called Mazzati, which is a home delivery service. We do manufactured lines into supermarkets, and we also offer a ready meal program.
Yeah.
So pretty much in the first day of me arriving at Alaseel, we were already, we're quite agile and flexible into building that range for the home delivery service. So, credit to the business that we turned that around quite dramatically in 48 hours. And to be fair, it's going gangbusters.
Yeah, that's full on. And I know you had to implement a lot of those changes straight away. And that from your normal operation, which seems quite large.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess there's, in our industry, there's always a heavy reliance on restaurants to trade and trade well. And as a standalone business, I guess that's a fairly good model. But the strength to this business is their diversity in other areas. And that's, I guess, the retail market, home delivery and online presence. And I really think that after we get back to some sense of normality, it will certainly redefine our industry for years to come.
Yeah, definitely will. I think it's given a lot of people a lot of time to sort of, not only reinvent but just recharge themselves, and grab some new things to take on for the future as well. Yeah,
look, Liam, I'd have to agree with you. In an industry where we always sit around saying that we're time poor, we're too busy, it's all these hours at work. It's the perfect opportunity for people to sort of sit back, reflect, reprioritize, probably invest a little bit of time into more training and development. So when they do come back, they come back, stronger, better, fitter, and well prepared. Yeah. I know a lot of us have been at home, and I know a lot of hospitality workers have been out of jobs, so they've been, haven't had a lot on. And what are some of the things that you do to, stay happy and keep your mental health, in good order? Yeah, look, it's quite interesting. Obviously, I'm one of the few lucky ones that, get to go to work and sort of interact at a work level. But obviously, I've got a wife at home with 3 kids that's doing homeschooling. So, when you've got 3 young kids, and they're all indoors, and, it can get quite intense at times. I think what's important is that you stick to a routine. You get up at the same time every day, you have a plan for the day, you have breaks in the day, and it's important to go out and exercise, get some fresh air, see some different sights and sounds. And, and I guess it's about goal setting. Set yourself a goal each day. It doesn't matter how big or small it is, but it's some sense of achievement. The thing that makes me happy at home is I enjoy cooking. Cooking's my vessel and way of, it's my outlet as such. And whether that's cooking, obviously, for everyone at home and the kids, it's something that I thoroughly enjoy.
Yeah, I know you've been you've got a few other things which you were meant to be doing over the next next month, and especially Chef of the Year. And I think from Thursday's episode, Wednesday's episode, we're talking about food service coming back online in November. And what are some of the things you look for in chefs with your judging?
Yeah, look, obviously there's a certain criteria that they need to meet, which is part of all the scoring. And the way the scoring set up is 50% of the marks is based on how they perform in the kitchen, utilisation of ingredients, obviously hygiene, cooking practices and methods, and 50% of those points are judged on the finished plate. Timing's critical. 60 minutes is not a long time to prepare 8 meals, depending on the proteins that are being issued. And the good thing about the forum is, the judges judge independently, and it's taken as a marked average across that judging criteria. Yeah,
right. Yeah, that's brilliant. I know you've been an amazing mentor to so many over the years, and that especially the youth in the industry. What encouragement can you give to them for the future? Something that they can take away and come out of COVID and move forward and look forward to the future.
Yeah, certainly. Look, as I said, now's the time to invest in your knowledge, training and learning. Yeah. Still apply yourself 100%. There's always going to be opportunity there. It's regardless of what industry you're in. But as I said, earlier, it's about how much stronger and fitter that you come back in your capacity. And, you have to invest in yourself as well. Things don't just happen. You've got to make them happen. Yeah. It's no different to an athlete trying to push for a personal best time. It's the same thing in a kitchen. You're pushing to do your best. And at the end of the day, that's all that anyone can ask.
Yeah, exactly. No, well, that's some great advice for our viewers. I'd like to thank you for joining us for the last episode of the week, John.
Thank you.
I know you've been extremely busy and you got a family to feed and spend time with over the weekend. So we really appreciate having you on the show. And to all the viewers out there, we look forward to seeing you all next week. Thanks, John.
Cheers, buddy. Good to see you.
Cheers. Well, what a great way to wrap up the end of our second week of Hospo Happy Hour. If anyone is struggling with their mental health and would like to seek a professional, you can reach out to us at www.hospoforlife.com.au and we can help you with a free one-on-one with a psychologist to get you started. Big thanks to our partners Warner's Gin and Altius Group for supporting the show. Stay strong and stay healthy. Stay united in spirit to create a positive change for a healthier industry. I'm Chef Liam Crawley. Stay safe and have a great weekend.